Sure. Sure. Hey folks, this is Mickey Abraham coming to you from Lessons with Marcel. I'm at Lake Ella in Tallahassee, Florida, where I live. This man does not live here, but he's in town. Mr. David Grier, the flat-picking legend. We're here at the Jet Amesqua Luthier Shop, where my friends Danny and Deb build guitars and mandolins. We thought it'd be a beautiful location to have David do a flat-picking workshop. David, welcome to Tallahassee.
Oh, it's good to be here, man. Thanks.
It's great to have you here. I appreciate you sending me your copy of the new album.
Yeah.
And it kind of blew my mind because you're singing on it.
Mm-hmm.
I knew you were singing, but it still surprised me to hear you singing.
Yeah, man.
I'm sure it surprises you.
It aggravates most people.
What made you decide to start singing on the new album?
I've been writing words, and when you have somebody else sing your song and your melody, they'll interpret it the way they hear it, which oftentimes isn't the way I hear it. And so if you want something done the way you want it done, it's easier to do it yourself than haggle.
But you're also picking the crazy guitar stuff on the new album.
Oh, yeah.
And there's even trumpet on it.
That's my favorite part.
It's
that
super
trumpet
textural.
Solo is so simple, and the tone is so huge and dark and warm. It's beautiful.
One track I thought was particularly interesting was your take on Billy in the Low Ground, traditional fiddle tune.
Yeah, everybody knows that.
Everyone knows it, but on this recording, you were switching keys between C and E flat.
Yeah.
Kind of unheard of, and you were
It
telling me...
sounds like it's impossible, doesn't it? But if you stick your capo up here on your 3rd fret, folks, so your capo's there, and then you play an A chord, you know, A, that's a C chord.
Right.
So when that happened, because, well, you know me, I get bored. And I was tired of playing that song out of C, where everyone plays it out of C. Fiddles don't have a capo, so they play it in C, and that's where it's always played. But I thought, well, this is a C also. I could play it here, and it wouldn't be so old. It'd be brand new for me.
So that's what you did on the album. The C version is actually the A shape.
Is the A shape. And then the E flat's just the C shape, which we all know, you know, which from the regular way of doing it. And so just back and forth, just to make it hopefully a little more interesting and less of the same old thing.
It's very interesting, and a lot of flat pickers don't play out of A position as often as they
Maybe not as
should
much
or
as
could.
they could. Yeah, they just automatically reach for that capo.
So let's move to a whole different subject. Let's talk about some tunes and the way you play them. When you go to take a tune as simple as Soldier's Joy, how do you decide that is the tune? That's the version, everyone plays it different.
It is. It's weird, isn't it? Because it's not written in stone like maybe classical music.
It's never written down. How do you know that that's the right version?
Right. Well, you don't. It's sort of, you do what you think encompasses all of it you've heard before.
Right.
And that's the tune, I guess.
If you had to play the simplest version without fancy licks, I love how even in that demonstration, your own unique flavor comes out so much with the syncopations and the way you slide around. even that was unbelievably complex.
Well, they could get it, they could see it, and it's not diddle, diddle, diddle. It's just right here, and it's how you approach the song. That's slower than I've ever played it, I think. But
Thank you.
it's a pretty tune. You can do things with it. At that tempo, it affords you more time before the next note. So however you want to get to that next note, or if you want to have a note ring, you could have that ring while you're getting to the next one instead of hitting it and moving because you got to get to the next one so fast. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. In a tune like that, it does have a pretty specific melody, but yet everyone still invents it differently.
Yeah, I'm sure that was different from people could argue that's not Soldier's Joy, but it seemed like it was close enough to me.
One thing that Brian Sutton once said in an interview with Marcel was that the tag of a fiddle tune often does not introduce new melodic information about that particular tune. Would Soldier's Joy be the kind of tune that you feel like the tag is not specific for that tune and all you're really trying to say is, I've got to end the song?
Maybe. I've never really thought about the end of the song. I sort of take it for granted, maybe, without thought. I know it's the end of this pass, right? And then another one's coming up. What am I going to do for that one? Well, I done this the first time. Better do something a little different, is what I'm thinking. And I don't really think of the end. You know what I think about sometimes is the shave and the haircut at the end of the tune, because everybody knows how many beats that is.
Yeah.
So how do you want to do your shave and haircut? Well, there's a million different ways. I don't know. That's a different way. It all says the same
all
thing.
All that says the same thing.
Shave and haircut. We're done. Everybody knows. It's like, all right, I've done all I know. Let's end it. I'm tired of the same old stuff. So here's a little different, but close enough to everybody knows what's happening.
It's probably even difficult for you to play the same thing twice the same way.
I can sometimes, but I don't like to. That's not really true. Sometimes I like to. I've got arrangements of tunes that I have it the way I like it, and I like it that way, and everything seems to fit right according to what's before it and what's after it, and I like where that lick sits, so I do that at the same time.
How much of that planning did you do for an album like I've Got the House to Myself?
For that is I just play a lot before the recording. So if I have an idea while I'm recording, I can do it. I'm in practice instead of having every note by rote, known and accounted for, and here it comes.
Sure.
I don't know. If I was better at that, I could do that. But when I do that, it seems stale and stagnant, sort of, instead of fresh and new. Maybe I'm the only one that feels that way because I've heard myself do it a bunch. But maybe somebody else, perhaps. I don't know what other folks think. But to me, it sort of sounds, not as in the moment.
You were telling me last week on the phone that one of the first track on that album wasn't even planned to be on the album.
Right. Yeah.
That blew my mind because that's my favorite track on the album.
Everybody and their uncle has recorded Bill Cheatham, right? How many records or CDs do you have that's on there? Quite a few. There's a bunch of different versions. So I wasn't going to, why would I record Bill Cheatham? It's been done. It's too much, probably, according to some, I guess. But you get in the studio, he sets the mics up, the engineer sets the microphones up, and then he goes into the control room while you're out here playing. He's getting tones, changing this, dialing this in, moving this fader, this little knob here. There's knobs and faders and all sorts of stuff, gear shifts in the studio, sure. And he's tweaking them all, trying to get the best sound. And for him to do that, you got to play, so he has something to hear. So I'm playing. I ended up playing Bill Cheatham in this weird way, that I hadn't heard anybody do, just goofing off. And I didn't know he was recording. So I'm just playing and goofing off again, just waiting for him to get done so I can record what I had planned to do, what I had wanted to do. And he says, all right, man, that was great. Come in and listen to it. I'm like, No.
I didn't even know you were recording.
You didn't record that, did you? Yeah, you got to hear it. It's like, I don't know. I'm just goofing. No, you got to hear it. So he played it. It's like, wow, that's kind of cool.
It is.
All right. So then that's how that happened. I had no plans. I didn't have an arrangement. All that happened on the spot, waiting for him to get done with his duties so I could do what I wanted.
That's truly unbelievable because it sounds like a well thought out, composed arrangement with the strums at the end. It gets bigger and more thematic and anthematic,
Right.
and you have to play on themes, and it truly sounds like
It builds on itself,
composed.
sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's knowing what I did before and knowing what I want to do next. And I did this last time. I don't want to exactly do it, but I'll do it sort of and change it just a little bit. And then next time when that spot comes around, do it a little differently. And that's all it is. It's improvisation, quote unquote,
I always talk to you about this tune, Lonesome Fiddle Blues, and every time I do an interview, I ask a bluegrass musician, what is the melody to the B part, and what is even the melody to the A part? It seems that nobody really plays what Vassar plays.
Right, well, they can't, probably. It's so fiddleistic through his mind,
Right.
The way he thought about things and approached things was different than others. You can hear it just by the way he plays. So you're left trying to figure out what to do on your own.
Right.
Or others were, and then you can listen to them. I first heard that tune, I think, from the very first Newgrass Revival record that Curtis Birch played guitar on.
Killer flat picking solo.
Killer. And that was the first place I learned how to play up the neck. I couldn't play up the neck, and Dad and I sat in front of the speaker, lift that needle up, lift that needle, put it on 16, it is super slow. And he showed it to me, we learned it. It was the coolest thing that whole summer. That's all I wanted to play. I wanted to play Lonesome Fiddle Blues because I thought it meant that I was kind of grown up because I could play up the neck.
How do you interpret the B part of that tune, which to me I think of it as a group of changes?
Yeah, well, every song's a group of changes, isn't it?
Of course. That's one way. I hear some of the influence from that Newgrass, old Newgrass Revival. I hear some of the tags.
I think Curtis did. Maybe not.
That part right there.
Yeah.
So you would say that learning to play bluegrass music, it's not necessary to learn songs from another artist note for note.
Maybe not. It'd be best if you did. Yeah. And then you're playing it correctly. But you can fake it. You can be out in the parking lot.
Isn't it possible that you're playing it more correctly by not doing it note for note like somebody else? Is that possible?
It depends on your definition of correctly,
That's really what I'm curious.
If it goes like this and you're playing that, well, you're not playing this. Sam Bush, I saw him somewhere, and he says, David, in that song, is it this note or is it this note? I said, I don't know, play it in context. And of course, both worked. I said, they both work. He says, no, it's only one's right. And I started thinking, I said, by God, I used to be like that. So it all depends how much of a stickler you are for tradition and playing what you know to be right, as opposed to something that'll suffice.
Your playing is so fluid and liquid, like a liquid substance. The notes just kind of flow as a gooey substance from
Well,
one to
after a
another.
while, everything starts to sound like this. That's how I hear Blackberry Blossom when people play it. I hate that. probably playing a typewriter.
How would you recommend someone gets away from that?
Phrasing.
It certainly
one
does.
way.
Yeah, it certainly does get rid of that typewriter feel. David, I love how creative your playing is. You know, people are always fascinated by technique, and they're like, how do you develop your right hand? How do you develop the notes? Technique is one thing. Obviously, you have amazing technique, but it's the creativity and the ideas that really excite me when I listen to your playing. Just the constant stream of invention.
Well, there's a million ways to get from point A to point B, and I've done 3 or 4 of them before, you know, and I know there's that million out there. So I'm always looking for how to put 2 notes together that I wouldn't have put together before that makes into a maybe a newer way to get from here to there. For me, it's a newer way.
Can I try a little almost like pop quiz with you in this middle of the interview?
Spelling bee?
It's not a spelling bee. What I've done is I've collected some of my favorite. It's really hard to narrow down my favorite solos that you've taken that I've heard, so I just kind of went through my iTunes collection and I've clipped the solos and like to get your real-time reaction to some of these. You don't even know what they're going to be.
Yeah, it's frightening.
And just get your take on what you think of this recording today. Some of them are many years ago.
All right.
Check this one out, David.
What record is that?
You don't
from?
even know what record that's from. Huh?
No, it's Todd Phillips on bass, ain't it? Sound like.
You know, who is playing? I'm not sure
if
who's
you
playing
tell
bass
me
on it.
whose record it is, I'll maybe help you.
That's off Chris Thiele's second solo album called Stealing Second.
I'm not sure who played bass on that. Yeah, wow.
What an incredible,
It's
exciting
like
surprise.
more like electric guitar solo than an acoustic guitar solo.
It sounds like a jazz pianist there, like little chord stabs.
Yeah, little things, right?
It makes me laugh
The whole
20 years
first
later.
part of it's like I
even
practiced
made you
20
laugh.
years for this. If I would have all through there, it wouldn't have been appropriate. It wouldn't have fit. It's all a matter of taste. And I had played electric guitar before I moved to Nashville. I'd been playing electric guitar since I was about 16. And so I had some of that knowledge, you know, that's in a different vocabulary than fiddle tunes, you know, acoustic guitar. So I leaned on some of that. It just seemed right, and I did it, and nobody complained, so they kept it, I guess.
Ready for the next one?
Yeah, I reckon. That was great. I loved that.
This is exciting, right? This is already great. All right.
There's a lot of trepidation and anxiety, but that one was cool.
Okay, what album was that, David?
Oh, it's not too far from the tree, isn't it?
That's correct.
Brian Sutton and I.
Correct.
And that was in my it was in my dining room. He brought over the mics and his cords and gear. And, all right. I said, really? You gonna make a record with, looks like it? Yep. Brian's fun to play with because he knows so much. It's not a competition, you know?
Right.
So some people you play with, and you play like you do, and you might hit some weird lick or something, then they gotta one-up you and play a little better, faster.
It's nothing like that.
No, this is just goofing off, really. We're just playing, and then weird stuff stumbled out. Brian called me up. I think he said this somewhere. It's in print somewhere. Hey, I'm putting this record together, just guitar players. I'm gonna do Doc and Norman and Tony, and I was wondering if well, hell yeah, I wanna be in that crowd. That sounds great. He says, I'm thinking, me and you'll play a tune. I said, hey man, how about the old spinning wheel? He says, that's what I was gonna say. So he had the same thought,
yeah.
And I had the same thought. Out of like a million Brazilian tunes, we both come up with that, independent of each other. It was pretty cool.
Try to remember what's next. I don't recall what's next.
We'll see.
Let's see. One of my favorites. Well, I love that ending.
I didn't know what in the world song that was
I know.
till right above the B part, and it's like, I bet that's Dixie Hoedown.
Right.
So that's Todd Phillips and Matt Flinner and I playing, I guess, the last solo of Dixie Hoedown, and I don't think we were meant to record that either. Todd was just tweaking knobs, and let's try this, see how that sounds. What do you want to play? I don't know, let's do this.
What an amazing recording. Did you guys discuss at all how you almost pushed the beat 2 beats to the right and almost made like a pickup measure out of it? And there's almost like an odd meter, or not an odd meter, it's like a measure of 2, and then it kind of evens itself out.
Yeah,
I've listened to that break
around
so many times trying to figure out the timing of what you and Todd and
Todd's cool
Yeah,
to
what you
play
guys-
with it. You can't throw him. It's amazing. I saw Future Man, Victor Wooten, Daryl and Mike Marshall and Todd on, no, it must not have been, it was Future Man and their horn player back then. Anyway, it was great. And they gave Future Man, you know how you trade 4s?
Yeah.
He took 4 on the drums. 4, I can count to 4. Pretty good, I'm confident I can count to 4. When it comes to him, it's like, boom, boom, and then I was lost. It's like, how did he do that to time? And everybody come in, bam, right, exactly. It's like, man, oh man, I couldn't even count to 4. He divided stuff up in such a way. So cool. Todd can hang, man. He's great. You should have seen the charts for those sessions, man. I had my own chart. Everybody had a chart, but I wrote on mine, I think I had G7.5 for some chord I was playing. I had no name of it, and so I wrote it down. I knew what I meant, so that's what I done. But it was very loose. Todd don't like a whole lot of direction, How many times through the song? Who's taking it? All right, done. That's all you need to know. Let's go.
Yeah.
Not, what are you going to do so I know what I'm going to do? It's none of that. It's just, let's play. I'll hear it, and then I'll respond to that.
Let's see what's next. Your syncopated Future Man is going to be a good segue to this next kickoff. You and I talked about this kickoff on the phone last week.
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's exactly what it's going to be.
I thought
it's such
so.
an interesting thing. You actually still even can play it now. I love that.
Well, it's simple. It's really, there's a lot more complex things, but the way it hits, the meter of it or the phrasing of it, it's like this. Right?
Totally.
That's basically it. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Totally. Let's listen to you play it on the original Panorama recording, which influenced my life greatly, and I'm sure there's many flat pickers around the world that also were just floored the first time they heard this recording.
Pretty peppy.
Classic, David. I mean,
Wow.
so influential.
Well, you can hear, especially in that solo, when I'm playing, I try to get away from this. And that's what, and then some, it's like a chord or a strum, a partial strum, or something, a slide or something to get away.
I've got one more for you.
Yeah, man. That's Wyatt on guitar. Ah. Breath.
It's beautiful. What is this recording from, David?
Well, I thought it was off my. First, I was trying to figure out which one of my records it was on. I know the song. It's.
If I gave you a hint, it's not on a studio recording.
No, it's not. It's that thing Dan Miller did somewhere.
That's exactly it. You are 100% right. This is the live recording from a DVD that.
And I hadn't played that song in so long. I don't sit around playing that song because.
It's a time when there was no internet, or the internet existed.
Yeah,
but to hear people flat pick like this, you had to actually, find.
Buy their damn record.
Yes. So how influential it was for me to get this DVD over 20 years ago and hear you and Wyatt playing a song like Wheelin' as a duet. You didn't have this kind of material. There wasn't Instagram reels and
Right.
YouTube reels, and it was a one-of-a-kind recording at that time. It really blew my mind. It still does.
I mean, as much as I was doing, and if you think that's cool, and I do, but it wouldn't have been near as cool without Wyatt's rhythm. Wyatt's rhythm playing on that. Well, Wyatt's rhythm, period. His
The best.
playing so good. But he really helped. He played on my first record, Wheeling, and whatever the second tune was, the other one. He played on those. He played on If I Knew Her Name towards the end of that record. Killer. I showed up. I picked him up. He was staying at somebody's house in West Nashville. He had this pick that was all jagged edges, looked like this. And it's like, how? And it looked like an old deformed toenail or something. How are you going to play? Oh, yeah, man, it's good. It's just getting good. I said, I got a pick. No, man, no, I got it. This is good. It was I swear, but then to hear him, beautiful, so good, so in the pocket and so great.
Were those Wyatt's chord voicings with the ninths and the really spacious
Yeah,
chords?
all that. Yeah, mine was Jack and Diane.
And he just put that beautiful...
Yeah. Well, I had the melody and he put the chords to it. I gave him the basic chords, but he knew them and he played them and it was great. That was Mark Schatz on the record on Freewheeling that played bass. I think it was just, Sam Bush was on there too, and Stewart, weren't they?
Oh yeah, Sam definitely plays on
Yeah,
that.
Sam and Stewart and me and Mark Schatz on bass and Wyatt on guitar. I was green, man. That was my very first record. Cool.
Wasn't that a fun trip down memory lane?
Yeah, it was wacky. That Chris thing was amazing. It was like, who the hell's that? It's like, well, god dang it, maybe that's me. It was something, man.
That was a lot of fun.
It's funny how my playing's changed through the years. I don't play like I used to anymore. I don't play like I do now. No, but it seems like, trying to fit into whatever I think is convention sometimes is detrimental. I should stay out on the edge more.
That's a good place to be. David, thanks so much for doing this again. It means so much. You have that new record that you played for me. I don't even think it's out yet, right?
It's not done, but it's
You played me some cuts in the car this morning. Sounds
Yeah.
incredible. When is that coming out?
As soon as it's finished, I'm pretty sure is when it's coming out, but I don't know when that's going to be.
Where can folks find you these days? What's your website?
It is davidgrier.com. I also have a Facebook page, which is David Grier Music, but it's best you email me because I don't know squat about that.
Perfect, we will. And get in touch with
man.
Dave if you want some CDs or merch. I'm sure he'd love to hear from you as well.
Yeah, the more the merrier.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, man, thank you, Mickey. It's a good job. Made it all the way through.
I think that's a wrap.